This is Decentral Lens, distilling the crypto news you need to know and why.
What's up, everybody? This is Blue Toshi, formerly Chicago, which is going to come and play and be important later, and my co-host Disco. And we have an extremely special guest, and I have been fired up for this interview all week. From Chiru Labs and Azuki, we have Zagabond. Zagabond, welcome, and thank you so much for coming on this show.
Thank you guys for having me. Excited to be here. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So a year ago, Zagabond and I had a great conversation. I've been in the garden since the reveal day. I got my Azuki 6501 and, we had a great conversation, and I reached out to you recently and just wanted to chat. There's so much in this last year that has been going on with Azuki and Chiru Labs and anime.com. It's just amazing. But I guess where I want to start first is with you. I'm more of an ordinals guy now. I know Disco is too, and our show is more ordinals focused, but our roots in art and PFP community was on the ETH side. And for me, a big part of my formative years, especially when I was Chicago, was Azuki. So tell me about your evolution in this last year. 'Cause I've noticed as an outsider, you just feel lighter now. I don't know if it's because you're more, you're using your name more. I know you've been doxxed for a while, but it just feels like you're coming into a whole nother level of leadership, and it's really cool. So I'd love to get into that.
Yeah, I think, it's been an awesome journey, and it's crazy because when you mentioned you've been in the garden since the early days, I know which Azuki you have right away. I can visualize it in my head. It's got the red bean ones, right, tied around the neck. It's got the red hair, the DD.
Maybe.
Yep, there you go.
Maybe.
Yep. You had it ready to pull up. I think you're not the first one to mention that. The way that I've approached my role as a founder has evolved quite a bit. I'm out there more, right? Speaking kind of what's on my mind and connecting with the community. And I feel like it's just part of the natural evolution of what the founder's role needs to be in the space, and also the evolution of Azuki and our own community. I think when we first started, I was pseudonymous, and I really wanted the work to speak for itself. And so I didn't feel like it was quite necessary for me to be fully doxxed and for me to be out there. And I think we did that for the past couple of years. We really put our work out there. We worked our asses off, built a really strong team, a really great foundation of an IP. And now as we're starting to scale and grow this ecosystem into not just Web3, but we're also breaking into the anime industry, producing real, authentic Japanese anime. That, I think, takes a leader who has a face behind the name. It takes someone to really help bridge the East and the West, which is my personal mission in my life. And so because of that, I felt like it was important to just be out there, kind of share the vision of Anime 2.0 and what that means. And I think that's the best way for us to really accomplish our vision. So that's sort of the thinking behind this evolution of myself as a leader.
Are you glad and relieved to be doxxed now?
Yeah, I think there's pros and cons, right, of being doxxed. I think the pros is that people getting to know who I am, meeting people face to face, making those connections, those are just much stronger connections once we can meet face to face, right? It's like when you're having a video call and your camera's off and you're just only listening to audio, you can still connect, but once you actually see the person, see their emotions, and it's just a tighter bond. And then meeting people in person is even stronger. So I would say those are the pros. The cons is, there's always safety and security concerns, right? In this space, there's a lot of wild stuff that's happening, and you see all the Zach XBT stuff with all the robberies, and I think in crypto, there's pockets of crypto that attract some mentally unstable people, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great people in this space, but there's also, some crazy. So that's kind of the downside. But I think the pros outweigh the cons for me. And so I'm glad I'm doxxed. I'm glad I'm out there. And I think the community is receiving it well too. I'm getting a lot of feedback around, hey, we love seeing you kind of showcase more of your personality. Like we love knowing more about who you are, and and I appreciate that. And like not everyone's gonna like who I am or how I'm leading Azuki. And there's some people who are like, I love the character of Zagabond, and I want that to be more of a mysterious kind of enigmatic character, and I want that storytelling to continue.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think you can do both, right? I think Zagabond can still play a part in the Azuki lore, and there's still times where we can build up some of that, like a dramatic effect. But at the same time, I think me being myself is something that is sustainable, right? I think that's something that people don't think about a lot. Is I think everyone in general should just be themselves, right, and be comfortable being themselves, especially as a leader, right, going through so many ups and downs. So how I interact with the team is kind of how I interact with the community, and so I get to just have that stability day to day now, which is great.
Yeah, I think that I think there's something, one of the things that you've really excelled at and just blown my mind is just having such an authentic build out of the brand and all the applications. And it just seems kind of like it's parallel roads for you to be able to be your true authentic self and be out there and go. So I major kudos for that transformation. I think it's a great evolution.
Appreciate it.
And I love that and I think I saw this in an interview, or maybe it was a tweet that you wrote, but I just love that you're okay with, you're like, you know what? You've been through so much in the last, 18 months, or has it been 24 months or whatever? But you've like with the funks and then the elementals last year, like, and with just the success of Azuki and such a strong community you have, I love that you're just okay with, like, some people are going to hate me. There's awesome people in this space. There's also like mentally insane people in this space, but there's also just people in the space who are probably good people who just picked one of these things to grab onto and don't like me. And you're like, I'm going to live with that. And I am who I am. So it's super cool to see.
That's the only way you can survive in this space. You can't
So
let all the negativity get to you. So I've learned a lot about FUD. I feel like I can write a book on FUD. Everything from the psychology behind it to why do people FUD to how you're supposed to receive it. How do you channel it into kind of positive energy and momentum? I mean, like I always say, like if no one's FUDing you, then that's the worst FUD, really, because that means no one cares.
Yeah,
right. And so the fact that people still come out and FUDing, and it's like, thank you for actually caring so much about me and what I'm going through still after all these years. Right. So I think as long as you have a core group of your community that really understands your vision and is supportive and is really willing to kind of be patient, and they see the vision, I think that's what really matters the most. And I've had that throughout the past 2 years. Even in the lowest of lows, there were people reaching out saying like, dude, I'm with you. Like, even though all these people are saying all these things, like, I know the truth. I've done my own research. I know what kind of person you are, and I can tell that. So you have my support. And so a lot of those people that were with me in the lowest of lows are just, we've formed such tight bonds now. And so those are the people that I build for, and hopefully more people join because they feel that energy.
And you'll never forget who those people are, the people who supported you when times were the toughest. Yeah. Like those are friends for life for sure. So does Zagabond then and the persona and check your wallets? Like, I was at that original party in LA and it was awesome. That's where I sat, me and old guy Ilan sat together by the rotating jacket, just hanging out. I'm like, I can't stand up.
You and Ilan? Okay.
I can't dance anymore. My feet hurt. But so does Zagabond then the persona Zagabond and that image, does does he take a lesser role now that Alex is here front and center and just lighter, comfortable in his skin, or is it this hybrid?
Yeah, I think it's sort of converging. It's sort of a mix of both, right? And I haven't really said like, look, I'm not Zagabond anymore. I'm just Alex, right? That's who I've always been. I feel like Zagabond in a way is someone who I aspire to be. And that's the mentality that I had when I started the project is who is someone that I look up to? What are some philosophies that inspire me, and how can I share that with the world? But now, as I've matured in being a leader and building a business and a community, I feel like yeah, that character and who I am is just starting to blend, right? And so I reactivated my LinkedIn recently,
Oh no.
funny enough, and yeah, and you know, it helps with recruiting, right? And so you know, the recruiters are like, hey, you know, Alex, you should reactivate your LinkedIn, and I told my whole team to do so. And my name on LinkedIn, it's Alex, but then it's Zagabond in as like kind of the nickname, and then my last name, which is Shu. And so yeah, it's kind of both, right? So and that makes it fun too, because you know, it's it's fun. I think having a digital identity, especially an anime character that you can think about the backstory for, that you can, and it's part of the reason why so many people love being an Azuki, right? Because you see the PFP, but you can start kind of coming up with the backstory and lore behind it. And I think good art should inspire you to do that. And when I see my Azuki, you know, I get similar feelings. So I think that's a cool part of having both a digital and real identity.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to reveal day, I'll never forget. I think I grabbed two that day, but then I grabbed a third, I think like a week later, and just I mean, just remember I had a head explosion because I'm like, I saw, you know, just with this guy, you know, 6501 with the Air Jordans. I used to be a big skater as a kid. And I am old enough where the
Nice.
original Air Jordans, I used to skateboard in Air Jordans probably for 2 years.
Oh,
They were actually good
in the Jordan
skating
ones,
shoes. Oh yeah. Like I should have just kept them in a box and,
you
you
should
know,
have saved a pair, man. That's crazy.
and
Yeah,
effing retired. But yeah, I probably went through because you know when you
yeah,
skate, you burn through shoes. I probably burned through. I'm embarrassed to admit, probably 5, 6, 7 pairs of these things. So when I saw this one, I was like, I'm in. He's got good dress, but he's chill. He's got the casual smile. But the air beans, I was
yeah,
like, it just reminded me, you know. And obviously, you know, skate all the skate references you have with Azuki. It was just to me, it was a no brainer. But like you said, the
yeah,
creativity that came and the ideas and all the art that was made, the generative art or the art from the characters, and it was just an incredible time. And now it's going even more.
yeah. You know, by the way, so those exact shoes that you have on your Azuki, the community actually made that shoe in real life, and they're really high quality, full grain leather. So we got to get you a pair. It's from this brand called Yukiza from the community. They actually made that shoe, and they gave me a pair. Yeah, and it's super dope.
Was
So yeah,
that
we got to
ice?
get you a pair.
Was that Ice Coffee who made those?
No, it wasn't iced. It was yeah, a team of a few garden members. But yeah, the brand is called Yukiza.
Now, do you wear them or
Yeah, they're
just
dope.
on special occasions like prom and turnabout?
Oh yeah, I just had senior prom, you know, last night.
Oh, no, Azuki prom. I don't know.
Um, yeah, I wore it once for the Golden Skateboard event that was hosted by Co Museum, which is another community project, and they're fractionalizing the skateboard. And they did an activation in Hong Kong, and so I wore it then to support. Like I could literally wear head to toe all community Azuki drip. It's kind of crazy.
That's
T-shirt. There's IKZ shorts from Aiden. There's like the Yukiza shoes. There's you know, the Garden T-shirt, TTJ, like head to toe. That's crazy.
Yeah, I may or may not be a curler, that ancient Scottish sport, but I have two. Um, shoot, what are those jackets called? The killer, uh, shoot, what am I trying to?
Dragon.
Yeah, the original Azuki jackets, the reversibles. What do we call those?
Oh yeah, yeah. The Twin Tiger jackets,
Yeah.
TTJ.
So I got two Twin Tiger
Yeah.
jackets, and every year our final curling event, it's like an all weekend, just full hang, and I always wear that, and people are like, "What is that? Like, where did you get that thing?" I'm like, you got to figure it out. Like, like I'd have to explain 38 things to him before I could explain the significance of the jacket. But those things are about as high quality as you can possibly get. And they're like, I'm not much of a
Yeah.
clothes horse, but I actually have those like wrapped in bags. Like I'll wear them only in special occasions, put it right back, because it's such a piece of obviously Azuki's history, but really a piece of NFT
Hmm.
history, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like for us, when it comes to physicals, like we just want to make the highest quality thing that we can. And with the TTJ, we airdrop them to all the holders for free. And you can either claim it, or if you didn't claim it, then it became a collectible token. Where I think we when we airdropped it, it was like a red side token of the jacket. If you didn't claim it, it kind of turned to the blue one, or like vice versa.
I
I
think
don't
it was
remember,
blue.
but
I think
yeah,
it was
it's
blue to
just
red. I think.
okay. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, I see it in the wild sometimes, which is kind of crazy. Like
That's so
when I went to a concert, like a JJ Lin concert in the Bay Area, I saw someone wearing it. I was like, that's cool. In Singapore for token, right? Like I see it like everywhere. But yeah, it's just really cool because it stands out so much, right? Like you can tell immediately, like, oh, that's the Azuki Twin Tiger jacket. So yeah,
did
we're really proud of that one.
Yeah, did you walk up to him and be like, "Hey, you want a picture with me?" They'll be like, "Who are you?" Be like, never mind." can
No,
you can
I'm super low key, so yeah.
can you ever blend in with, like, obviously not in an Azuki event, but like NFT stuff? Can you blend in, or no? Like you're fully, like, wherever you go, you've got a tail following you.
I feel like yeah, there's a few people that recognize me, but I try to stay away from crowds. Um, but yeah, at crypto events, yeah, I like meeting people and stuff. So yeah, it's usually a good time.
So you prepare yourself for it. Well, let's transition into the community. I mean, the Azuki community, I will say, from the beginning, and obviously it's been a roller coaster, but from the beginning, you have had such a core group of people in that community, and it's only grown. Like, as we were researching the show, I looked, and obviously I saw a lot of familiar faces, some of my favorite folks. Obviously I mentioned Ilan. I got a shout out to all the Sensi Beans, but like Airport, Ebe, Elder Millennial, Gen T, Clappy, CCW, I mean, Seesaw. There's so many of them out there who have been there since the beginning. But what I was amazed
Legends,
at
yeah.
too, they're legends. Yeah. And what I was amazed at too, there's so many new names in there too, who looked like very prominent members of your
Hmm.
community as well. Like, tell us about the evolution of the Azuki community and what you've seen.
So when it comes to community and how I think about it, I feel like it's an ever evolving thing, right? Because people come and go, but people join because of shared values, because of the vision of the project. And so the reason why we named the brand Azuki is because it means red bean in Japanese. And the way we think about the garden and the community is that we're all little seedlings in the garden, right? And we're all growing together. And there's going to be ups and downs throughout all this growth. But as long as we are one community, right? We're supporting each other, and we're going through this crazy Web3 journey together. Like, who knows what's coming up in the next meta, right? But like, what I appreciate about the community is that we adapt, and I feel like the strongest communities are not the ones that are strong in this very moment, but the ones that display strength through multiple periods of obstacles. And that's what I've been most proud of with the Azuki community is, we faced a lot of challenges, myself included in the team, but we've always come out of it, even stronger. And each time we evolve, it looks slightly different than what it was before. And so what I tell the community is like, enjoy the moment that you're in, because it's always changing, right? And you can't just cling on to like, oh man, remember the good old days when we had X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, we enjoyed it back then, right? Today's a different day, and you have to think about the present and really enjoy that, and think about what's coming up next so we can continue evolving. And so in crypto, like metas change all the time, right? And so 2021, NFTs were huge. 2022, first half was great as well, and we were there for it, right? And so that is a kind of core memory to a lot of OG Azuki folks, because we were minting NFTs. You could just 10x in a day. Everyone's having fun. But then when the bear market hit, right, things change and there's a new meta, right? And so now it's meme coins. And so what are we going to do as a community when meme coins are taking off and NFTs are not? Well, I think education is really important. And so we have awesome members in the community like MinX Dynasty, for example, right? Great meme coin trader. And he's, in group chats with the garden and educating people, those that are curious, like, hey, I have, a couple $100, I have, $1,000 to speculate on some meme coins. How should I do it? And so, and some have actually done really well. And so with each cycle, I feel like part of the Azuki DNA is you have to adapt. And because if you don't, then you'll taper off. And we've seen probably like 99% of communities in crypto just, they launch, right? And it's hype, and then they start to taper off. And you see that so often. And so that's why for strong communities, you really have to adapt. And if you don't, I think you'll just be strong momentarily. But so you just got to keep evolving.
Yeah, absolutely. Min, you bring him up. He is definitely a force to be reckoned with. So I did meet him also in LA. We had a big dinner before with Fozzie and a whole huge group at Min. I think I was the last one there. I literally flew in for that party, made it halfway through the dinner, went to the party with all those guys, and then I flew home at I think I had a 4 a.m. flight, so I just slept. I'm like, I'm just going to sleep in the airport, and that was probably a poor decision. I probably should have slept for a couple hours in an actual bed, but it was legendary. But Min's an interesting character, and I want to focus on him for a second, because in the early ordinal days and like that first weekend, Min and so was Seraph, they were both in the ordinal space, and they're very knowledgeable on a lot of things. But I think as a testament to Azuki, whereas a lot of us who left, I don't want to say left ETH, but a lot of us who made our main focus ordinals and ordinals art and generative art and PFPs over there, Min and Seraph, who have been in that space forever, their focus was heavily there in the early days. I mean, they are as OG as you get in ordinals, but they both came back to the garden. Not that they ever left, but they almost came back with a reinvigorated force, and have really helped you and helped the whole team elevate Azuki to a whole new level. I'd love to hear more about kind of, I'm seeing them all over the place. How have they contributed to what you guys are doing as community members?
If you think about a community as a network of participants and individuals, the strength of the network is not just on one single entity, right? And so if the team is really strong, but then they're not elevating and empowering the other like nodes in this network, then you can only get so far. And so when I started Azuki, I had a tweet. I said something like, I called out a few very notable Bored Ape members. I think it was like maybe D Farmer. I forgot who else I called out, but these are prominent members who really had a following, but through the Bored Ape Yacht Club was really able to grow alongside that brand and community. And I said, I want the same for Azuki, and I want to elevate the people that want to grow alongside us. I'll do whatever I can to help support these people. And so you named a couple of just legends of the garden, like Min, right? He came in and he actually lost his first Azuki or two because he like lost his seed phrase. And so he started off just on a really bad note. But he
Oof.
didn't let that deter him, right? He was like, I love this community. I love the anime style. Like, I love the team. And so he worked his way back up to an Azuki for him and his then fiance and now wife. And so now they're both part of the garden. And he just started creating content, right? And he wasn't like gaining, 10,000 followers overnight. It was like a slow grind because he was like a TikTok guy, right?
Yeah.
But then he started just like getting really deep on NFTs and Web3. And I think what he's excellent at is he is very open minded and he understands narrative. He understands what fuels this space. And I think part of being intelligent is knowing when to turn off your intelligence to a certain degree, right? And I think he's able to do that well and really able to connect and expand his network. And that's something I encourage everyone in the Azuki community to do is um, if you're only here in Web3 because of Azuki, like that is a great honor for me to hear that because it tells me that you have such faith and you love what we're doing. That's great. But at the same time, I feel like you're missing out on so much of what Web3 has to offer, right? And so what Min does a great job of is like he has friends in the DeGods community in pretty much all the major communities, right? He's always learning, absorbing, and then he'll form a thesis around like what are good opportunities for him to dive deep into, and he does that. And same thing with Seraph, who's actually our VP of product now on the team.
I do. I pronounced it wrong.
He
Thank you.
No, a lot of people say Seraph. Sir Ralph is another one. Um,
I think I'm going to go Sir
so
Ralph now. Sans Sir Ralph.
yeah, Sir Ralph. Yeah. And he was a prominent member of Spirit DAO, right, which is a group of really awesome guys. And now they invest together, they advise companies together. And he just had a great product sense and a lot of experience building product. And through just chatting with him and getting guidance and just bouncing ideas off him, I was like, hey, you should just come run product for the company. And so now he's joined us now and doing an awesome job. So um, yeah, I think anytime that we can help empower individuals in the community, we try to do that. So you don't have to be a meme coin trader. You don't have to be technical, dev or product person. You can make content. You can make memes. Like whatever it is, as long as I feel like the intention is good. I want to do what I can to support.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe Seraph was also, wasn't he a big part of kind of getting the leaderboard going and badges and, in the early days, I think I was one of the vocal people be like, hey, the Reds and the Blues feel like they're kind of getting kicked to the curb here, Zagabond. Come on, let's get the Reds and Blues. But I know you guys have really worked on this system to, obviously the garden isn't all about like how much money to spend on how many frickin' Azuki you can have, but the order and showing dedication and some of these folks is it's cool, and it's probably cool for them to see, because they've contributed so much, like you said, with and without the Spirit DAO. It's been such a strong commitment from a lot of these folks.
Yeah, so like what you're looking at here is the leaderboard for all Azuki collectors. The top 50 is in a exclusive group called the Order, and what makes up the score for these collections is a mix of their NFTs, but also their physical items too that have PBT inside. And so if you have like an ambush hoodie that has a PBT or a Gus collectible and you scan it, you get a digital token that always follows the physical owner, and that's part of this experience as well. And each NFT has their own score based on the emblems that it has. So if it has a rare trait like Seraph here, right, he's got the quad elemental, so that Azuki's got a ton of points So not all Azukis are equal from a points perspective, but obviously aesthetics and all that, comes down to subjectivity. But we built the system because I think like within Azuki and within ordinals as well, right? You have a lot of collectors, people that really love to collect based on, the art.
Okay.
And we really wanted to honor that and not just, I think a lot of, teams now are starting to be like, you know what, NFTs, we're always just shitcoins with pictures. And we're going to treat all the NFTs the same. And I think for some projects that's actually the right move, right? Because their holder base actually treats it as such. But within Azuki, because the art I think is so identifiable, and some of the rare traits just like pop out, and collectors paid a premium for it, So we built an entire system to honor that.
Yeah, absolutely. I got to say, one of my favorite traits is one of Illin's, and I think that the yellow shirt with the stripe. I was going to call it the banana shirt, but I know that's not what it's called. But there's something so subtle and so cool. I don't know if it's just because I grew up on Charlie Brown and Peanuts or something, but it's just there's something, and especially with the water vibe going on there. But I've always loved that one, and that's probably the most rare, or one of the top three, I think, most rare shirts for the dudes, right?
Brother, did you just call the Bruce Lee shirt the banana shirt?
Oh, Bruce
no.
Lee. That's right. It was Bruce Lee. And I should know that shit. I was around when he was making movies.
Banana Lee.
Banana Lee. Yeah. I have a feeling I could easily be given a new nickname, and there probably wouldn't be that positive based on this interview. But no, there's just, there's so many cool traits in this collection. But I will say, and this, I don't know if this is a stretch, but pound for pound, I think the Spirits, was there 97 of them? I think of all PFP collections, I'm going to go on a limb here and say those are the coolest. It's the coolest trait among any PFP collection, bar none.
You said it, not me. You said it.
It's true though.
But I agree.
You've got CryptoPunks. Like if I had to compare it to that, I mean, like Seed Phrase has like the 7 or 8 trait guy. You certainly have the aliens, which is just crazy. But CryptoPunks were a different era. What was that, 2017? And it was just made a different way. It was made to be more on chain. This is obviously more art, beautiful art at that. But the Spirits, I think, like if you own a Spirit, like that's pretty effing badass.
It's so dope that I have to get one myself. So I am one of the out of the 97, and that's one of my proudest things that I own.
Now this
it's
one,
got a black hoodie.
Oh, which one? Which one do you have?
That one's crazy.
This was Ebe's originally, correct? Didn't Ebe reveal this? I think he did.
Did he?
I thought he revealed a Spirit. I could be wrong, but this is my two favorite Spirits are this one and the one with the guy with the cowboy hat flipping the golden bean. Like there's something just that guy's just cooler than, I don't know who ended up with that one. I don't even know. That one moved around. Did Iced Coffee finally wind up with that thing?
I think Ice might have sold it to someone else, but yeah, Ice was using it as a PFP for a while.
He was, okay.
But yeah, it's like all the Spirits are so recognizable. We're really just all the Azukis, right? But you just see a character right away, and you're like, oh, I know who that is.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I'll go on a limb too, and I'll just say that as far as communities go, and maybe it's because you've been through so many ups and downs. I mean, CryptoPunks have certainly had their ups and downs. I owned one until about a month ago, so I had one for 3 or 4 years, and maybe 2 or 3 years actually. But I will say that, they've probably had a lot of adversity that I don't know about before my time. Yeah. But I like you said, this up and down just makes Azuki and the community stronger and stronger. I would argue both on the ordinals or the ETH side, it's if it's not the strongest, it's definitely among the top. And maybe that adversity, it's like going to war, with people. It's like your platoon or anywhere where you all go through something together. It brings you out stronger on the other side.
I
Yeah.
think that looking at it, I've always looked at it from this lens for, watching your development is I think that what you've done so brilliantly is really curate a lifestyle brand. So, you have the community contributing, but then all the outputs kind of line up with that edge of quality. And I think that what you're doing right now, which is really fascinating to kind of think about, is you're kind of bridging different worlds of like web 2 and web 3 and the physical and the digital, and you're doing that, but all the outputs, you go to the, dope shit only kind of mantra, and it's like having that sort of quality. It's like, to me it feels kind of like a Supreme or, something like that, where it's coming up from kind of the culture and then you're letting it kind of go in different ways. And it must just be so incredible for you to see that manifest when you see, people creating within the community things from kind of, what you launched a while ago. And it has to be kind of fascinating to figure out how to harness all the different opportunities that must have presented themselves over the past 24 months.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, lifestyle brand is a good way to put it. And I think that yeah, the one of the rewarding things about Azuki is seeing all the community creations come to life. And in order to keep that going, I think the first party drops and IP development and branding has to continue to elevate. Because if quality on the first party side starts to drop, it's going to inspire less and less people, right, to do dope things as well. So um, I think one of the ways that we can just get the Zuki IP and brand out there to more people is by creating content. And so that's why we've invested in producing our own anime series. And we're starting with this short form anthology series where people can really see the IP come to life, right? We license Suzuki's from the community in that. And then that's being put out for the whole world to see. You don't have to own any crypto or NFTs to, watch it. It's free. Episode 1 is actually on YouTube right now. It's got a couple million views. And so when people see it, they're like, oh, that's cool. And then when holders see it, and they, especially if they see their own Azuki on there, they're like, holy shit, like this
Yes.
character I own is on the big screen. And yes, it's just such a short episode, but I feel like it's like we're onto something here. And it's just a glimpse of the future. And so, I think continue to inspire and seeing more of this brand come to life is great. And like on the topic of being a lifestyle brand, I think there's no better visual identity to use than anime, because
Yeah.
anime is already such a big part of like a lot of people consider anime just a genre, right? When you see, especially here in the West, they're like, oh, anime as a genre is growing, like whatever percent year over year. But if you really look at anime culture, it's already a lifestyle culture. It's permeated every part of people's lives, starting from Japan, right? You see anime everywhere, like on the billboards, like on trains and the buses, on snacks, at 7-Eleven, movies, films, TV shows, everything. And so I think we're starting to see that here in the West, right? Anime is becoming more and more popularized and accepted in mainstream culture. And so I feel like Azuki as an IP started at just the right time. And this community co-created IP concept is something that companies in Japan are starting to take note of as well. And they're starting to see like, oh, this is how new IPs can be created. We want to experiment with similar concepts. And so there's actually Web3 teams now that are following the Azuki playbook from major Japanese IP companies like Toei Animation, for example, right? Like they made some of the iconic IPs that we know and love, like Dragon Ball Z. They have a Web3 team now that's creating their own anime IP following the Azuki playbook. Toho is another one. They own Godzilla and Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero Academia, and they also have a Web3 team now that's kind of following the playbook. So it's great to see that what we've done is starting to make some noise in the
Yeah.
anime industry, and
Almost become a model.
yeah, and so right, and so I hope that like yeah, the community um, can be proud of that, and so it started as a brand and became more of a lifestyle brand, but then now it's also an IP, right? And so it's becoming much bigger over time, which is awesome.
Would you say that, Disney's, I feel like Marvel, I've got kids, and, the whole generation up to the Secret Wars or whatever the big finale was there, like this whole new generation, it's not resonating with them at all. I assume the numbers aren't as good. Star Wars obviously was disco in my generation, and my kids are like, Dad, Star
Yeah.
Wars is so stupid. What advantages does Azuki and Chiru Labs have because you pulled the jacket inside out from how you did it? You grew with the community with all the lumps and bumps from the beginning. Like, what could they learn from you?
Wait, so your kids don't like Star Wars? Man, that's sad to hear, dude.
It actually is kind of sad, but some of the newer ones are so bad. The show last year,
Yeah.
I try to get my son who's 16 to watch it. What was it called? The one where the guy's in jail and they can't step on the floor. That was, to me, that was Rogue One good. Someone will say it right here, probably in the comments. And by the way, I'm putting all the comments up now. Disco, I had that window shut, and there's like 80
It's
comments. And I was
popping
like,
off.
and now I'm trying to like, oh shit, like post those big time.
It's
But
popping
no,
off.
but seriously, what can, like, I honestly think Disney and these big brands, and I'm glad in a way that they're sucking wind, because I don't like the centralized IP. I feel like they're trying, like they do some things right, but a lot of stuff, like they're not creating stories that allow the brand to grow. Or if they do, they have four misses for every hit. Like what
Hmm.
if you were brought in, you know, to Disney, and they were like, Zagabond, Alex, like, we need help. What would you tell them?
I so I think a big trend in um, viewer behavior is that our attention spans are getting shorter and shorter, right? So the traditional movie length of an hour and a half, 2 hours is just way too long, in my opinion. It's just
Yeah.
way too long. So I think I would really push for some experimentation around content length, and how can we get the most storytelling done in the shortest amount of time possible, and really experiment around that. Um, and for these bigger companies, like I saw a article about how Marvel is actually doing more focus groups now with the community, to get feedback
Yeah.
on, hey, if we take the story this way, like, will you guys like this, or is this bad? Because even they understand that, like, you have to make sure your core fan base is happy and excited, and that doesn't mean like telling the entire community and spoil the whole story before you launch it. But it's very similar to, I think, how NFT projects run community these days. Is before you make a big release, and like we learned this from Elementals, right? Because our playbook before was, surprise and delight, no leaks, and our team was very good about that. No one knew what was coming, and when we launched, it was a big splash, right? And that could really hit hard, or it could really backfire. And I think the good middle ground is, there's pockets of the community that I view as really strategic, that really understand the long term vision of what we're trying to do, and they can sign an NDA. We can give them some sneak peeks and be like, hey, you know the community just as well as we do, most times even better. What can we do to improve, and what do you think about this release? So I think bigger companies should start to do that as well. But I mean, but the tough part is, these companies, like, they are looking towards their shareholders to deliver value, right? And so they can't take big risks. And that's why when you look at the Hollywood top 10, grossing films of last year, like, they're all sequels and existing IPs. there's no new IP that's really good because no studio wants to make that investment to really be like, hey, we're going to swing for the fences here and like let's see what happens. Like their shareholders don't want that. So what ends up happening is they just take existing IP and they are like, hey, we're confident we can make at least break even here. So let's make this investment and make Fast and Furious 19. So that's kind of their playbook. But I feel like our advantage is in Web3 is that we can move much faster. We can experiment with shorter form content. And so for us, like one of the new things we're experimenting with on socials is mobile optimized short form anime content where it's 45 seconds to a minute long. It's vertical and mobile optimized. You can still get some storytelling done, and people seem to be able to watch through the whole thing and kind of tune in for the next episode and start growing attachment to the characters over time.
Do you see yourself ever doing long form, whether that's a half hour, an hour, or dare I say a full feature length film to really just origin story, the whole lore and everything?
Yes, I think feature films is particularly exciting for me if you're able to get the right creatives and build the perfect writers room and just tell a really great story and just give them the creative freedom to do so. And so we've brought on a few folks to actually help us craft some of the foundational stories and the world Bible for the Azuki universe. And so we actually just brought on Mark Goffman, who was the executive producer for Umbrella Academy, which I really enjoyed. It's on Netflix. And he's helping put together a writer's room of both creatives from the anime industry and from outside of it to really see how we can use the foundational pieces we've already developed with the Azuki lore and actually turn it into a world Bible. And so we're making some fantastic progress, and it's looking awesome. And I think, feature film is still very exciting because I think it's the most straightforward way to really break into the cultural zeitgeist and create something that will immediately have a fan base around. So I think that's definitely a opportunity for us.
Do you see, like, playbook wise, you mentioned that a lot, like in the ETH days, Yuga obviously came before you, had massive success, kept airdropping to the point where I was like, how long can this possibly last? But it was the ETH 2021 to 2023, if you will, playbook, and until it wasn't. Yeah. So, and then the evolution of the playbook, it's changed, like, Doodles partnering with who is it? Is it Farrell Williams?
Farrell,
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So like, and they're starting to make longer feature length stuff. Obviously Pudgy Penguins getting into Walmart with their plushies and it doing really well. Like, do you feel like you were kind of drafting off any of those playbooks, and now that Zagabond and Alex are both rising and becoming this whole new level with the community and your whole team and everybody, like, do you feel like now you guys have your own playbook? Like, how would you describe that evolution for you?
Yeah, I think what I enjoy doing is studying what everyone else is doing and really paying attention to what unique insight did those teams have that led them to take the actions that they took. And I've always said that every team should play to their strengths, and there's no single blueprint for every project. If you're an ordinals project, right, you should do, what's best for the Bitcoin and ordinals community. And there's certain, cultural differences and nuance that you have to look out for. And what worked for Yuga may not work for you today. And you just always have to be ahead of the curve and think 2 steps ahead. And then I think most importantly, there's product market fit, right? So that's, does the product that you've created actually have users that like using the product? But then there's also team market fit. Like, does the team that you've assembled have passion for the direction that you're going, and do they have the skill set necessary to create the product in the first place? And so, I think a lot of people looked at Pudgies after they got into Walmart and started really killing it on socials. And they're like, hey, this other project, you guys have cute IP too. You guys should make toys and just go into Walmart, without ever assessing if the founder of that project, who's oftentimes just an artist, right? If they have any retail experience, who they've hired on the
Right.
team, right? And so people are just like, you should do the same thing. And if they were to try to do that, they're going to fail because they don't have that expertise, and that's not what they're passionate, where the passion lies. So I think the playbook for Azuki has been around, like, what are we uniquely enabled to do, and what do we want to do, and what is our vision for the world? And I think the team that we've assembled here, we really love anime first and foremost, and we really love building an aesthetic brand and building real product. So it's this intersection of art and technology that I feel like this team is very good at. And that's special because I've worked at quite a few companies, both startups and bigger tech companies, and usually teams like index in one direction or the other. They're very creative and they have an eye for aesthetics, but they're not very technically capable. Or they're a bunch of gigabrain devs, but they don't understand consumer behavior. They don't understand distribution, and they don't have an eye
Right.
for design. But I think what we've assembled here is a fantastic art team, a fantastic design team, and operators who have worked at bigger companies, have taken products to scale. And so I just feel very grateful that, like, I just tweeted yesterday, like the Azuki team is cracked. Like, how did I get so lucky? And I feel that every day coming into work, because I'm constantly challenged by my peers. And I feel like every day I'm learning something from the team and the community. And so I think our playbook is, it's learning from all the teams that are building around us, but ultimately building what is best for us specifically, and also what's best for our team.
When you started reaching out to the pros, I know you got Dentsu involved and you have some of the best anime artists and producers and storytellers out there. When you started working with them and learning from them, were you like, oh wow, this is a whole nother level of storytelling? Like, thank goodness I brought this in before we had totally established the Azuki lore? Or were you guys already internally kind of on the right track when you brought all these folks in?
Yeah. So before we started working with Dentsu and working with professional writers, we had a general sense of what we wanted the kind of foundational lore and world Bible to be. And we were able to get that because we had people on the team that were just truly passionate about it, right? So Steam Boy, who's our lead artist, he was the character artist for the original characters for Overwatch, and just an amazing artist first and foremost. But I think what makes him special is that he's also a world builder. He thinks about the stories behind these characters. And I think that's his special talent, because when you think about the story, that will then influence and inspire what the design of the character should look like. Right. So with Azuki, like, it wasn't just, let's just, draw some cool looking characters. I think he put thought behind, how the traits would look together. What are the elements in the universe? And he works very closely with our head of content, Feb. And Feb is an otaku. So he watches so much anime, speaks Japanese, but he's actually a software engineer by trade. but he has a passion for creating stories and just consuming stories. And so him and Steamboy are just like a match made in heaven. And so because we had those two on the team, we were able to develop some of those foundational concepts. But we made it a point to not tell too much of the story in the early days because I remember like what I disliked about a lot of projects is when you first learn about the project, you go on the website and they just have like a long page about the lore. It's like, oh, the year is 2077. This clan has already, and then it's just like, I mean, I can tell that they enjoyed writing it, but it's like, you know, I just can't get into it as a fan, right? Because it's just very
Yeah.
amateur. So I'm like, we're not going to do that. We're just going to give people a glimpse into what this universe can be, inspire people to come up with their own stories. And then once we work with professionals, and now we are with Dentsu, we will tell more of the stories over time. And so that's what we're doing now, like letting real professional writers help us, write all the details and making sure that it's a cohesive and strong story.
That's great. So let's transition then right into anime.com. It was a huge purchase for you. It was a massive flag planting in the ground, in my opinion, to say, like, you know what? We love anime. We are going to, I don't want to say own it, but we are going to make anime so much bigger. And, you know, I've been following you, you know, obviously since the garden began. And lately you've just been saying like there are so many inefficiencies in anime, it's not even funny. So give, you know, knowing that we come more from the ordinal side and don't know everything about it, give us the overview of anime.com and kind of how it fits into the strategy of Azuki moving forward.
Sure. Yeah. And the first thing I'll say is our goal with anything that we do is really to create new experiences, enhance experiences, and I think that from an anime fan perspective, the broader anime fan base I feel like is actually underserved, and I'll explain why. So if you are an anime fan today and we watch on various platforms, Crunchyroll, Netflix, or like a lot of anime is actually watched on illegal streaming sites, although the US has been cracking down on them recently. After you watch it, there's not really a great place for you to discuss with fans that have also just watched it and are on the same episode. But you can go on Reddit, for example, right? There's quite a few very large anime subreddits. You can go to my anime list to leave a review, but it's quite fragmented, right? And there's no good place for you to just really express your fandom as a fan. And so I got inspired for building this platform, partially after going to Anime Expo, which is the largest expo in Los Angeles. And I went earlier this year, and it's such a diverse fan base, and they express their fandom in so many different ways. You know, cosplay. They throw events. They create posts on various forums. So how can we replicate that Anime Expo experience but digitally? Right. So that was part of the inspiration for anime.com. And the reason why we felt confident in a platform like this is because we really think we can deliver an experience that will delight anime fans. And so, so the consuming anime is part of it. The other part is also in how do we display our fandom after we consume a show, right? We love buying merchandise, right? And that makes up for most of the anime industry today. But buying merchandise, after you watch a new show, it takes, like, first of all, like, you don't know where to buy it because you don't know which sites have
Right.
officially licensed merchandise. Some of it's shady, and then also it takes months for it to arrive because physical products, like they don't know if the show is going to be a huge hit or not, right? So they're kind of waiting to see the metrics from the show before they really put these items into production. I think there's a lot of digital experiences we can deliver for fans at the time of consumption that can really excite them, and it's a more kind of social experience of engaging with anime. So that's the main inspiration behind anime.com. And what I tell the team in the community is that with a great domain comes great responsibility, right? Just because we own anime.com, like it doesn't really mean anything in my eyes, right? We have to really deliver a product that fans really love before we can say that we've done anything. And so we have a lot of respect for the creators in the anime industry, and that's why we're working with some of the top creatives for our anthology series. We really want to do it the right way, and we really want to serve the anime fandom in the right way as well. And so we're taking our time, really doing our research, and the team is made up of anime fans. We're working with anime fans on this product. So right now the wait list is live, so you can just sign up, just an email, if you haven't done so already. And when you register with an email, it actually creates a wallet for you using account abstraction on the anime chain testnet. But you don't need to pay gas. There's no wallets. And so it's very seamless, like a Web2 experience. And then after you sign up, you get some stickers that you can use once the platform is live. And those stickers are actually NFTs that are minted on the anime chain testnet. But again, from a user perspective, they don't know they're interacting with the blockchain at all. So we want this platform to really be a great experience for anime fans. And it's run on crypto rails, but they're not going to even know that that's the infrastructure behind the scenes.
So your whole goal is to have it super seamless to onboard the people. That crypto doesn't need to be the focus front and center. Anime is front and center. It just runs on crypto rails.
Exactly. Yep. And I think that's the level of, like, that's the bar that needs to be hit in order for Web2 to really, finally enjoy using Web3 products. I think most Web3 products today that are trying to onboard Web2, like, you still need a wallet, right? You still need to pay some gas, things like that. But I think finally, the infra and the technology is getting to a state where we can actually match Web2 UX, and so we're using Arbitrum, Arbitrum's Orbit stack to build anime chain as an L3, and so super fast finality times, super cheap gas fees, and so that's how we can actually sponsor the gas fees on behalf of the user, and so they don't need to touch that crypto stuff at all.
So Arbitrum is an L3. Just explain that to me for a second, because I am an ETH validator. But so Arbitrum, this anime chain, correct, is going to be an L3 on Arbitrum 1. So that will roll in and be secured by Arbitrum, and then the Arbitrum chain eventually L2s and rolls into ETH security. Is that
the ETH? Correct?
It does.
Yeah. So Arbitrum is an L2, and then anime chain is an L3. And so you can think of us building on top of Arbitrum. Arbitrum is built on top of Ethereum.
Do you ever worry about bridging? And some of these L2s are still like glorified multi-sigs, with like 5 dudes behind it, which that's where you got to start. Like, I totally get it. I feel like the L2s maybe could have evolved quicker, and I do feel like ETH, I feel like the L2s, there's so many of them, it's almost like hurt ETH. Does it worry you that all about going out and bridging? Or are you saying, no, when you're an L3 on Arbitrum, it doesn't matter what we're on as long as it rolls in to ETH eventually and it works?
No, there's definitely trade-offs with bridging, right? Because when you have assets that are on Ethereum L1, I think that's the most secure. Anytime you bridge, then you have to use interoperable bridge services, whether it's Wormhole, Layer 0, et cetera. And so there's certainly risk there, but the trade-offs for UX is worth it. And that's why we decided to build our application on our own chain.
How does Anime XYZ fit into anime.com in the whole big picture?
Yeah, so XYZ is more of the Web3 side of what we're doing. And right now, if you own Azuki assets, you can actually collect these gotcha balls and play this game called Gotcha Grab on anime.xyz. And if it's unlisted and it's in your wallet and you own it, then you are collecting these gotcha balls, every minute. And once you collect enough points, you can go spin, and so you can get a random tier ball depending on your collector score and your collector status. So almost like a soft staking program that we have going on here. So more of our Web3 stuff will be on anime.xyz, but anime.com is more this Web2 anime platform. So that's the distinction.
And is there AI involved where people can literally like make anime on the fly, or is that not the point or part of this at all?
For anime.xyz or .com?
.com.
Yeah. So AI, of course, is it's very disruptive, right, to like the anime industry, to the entertainment industry in general. And the way I view it is, there's already many anime studios that are experimenting with AI to help speed up the production process. I think with like environmental backgrounds, in just speeding up part of the process that doesn't involve like a lot of details, right? And I think for us, like we're not doing anything with AI right now, but inevitably it is the direction in which the industry is headed. I think it'll for sure incorporate AI, in many ways. I don't think we're close in the short term to AI just generating anime that's as good and visually pleasing as hand-drawn anime. But I think we will get to a place that individual creators can actually just through text prompt create a lot of their stories and make it come to life through anime as a format. So we're preparing for that. We're not doing anything right now, but we have someone on the team who's always kind of experimenting with the latest and greatest. And so sometimes I'll post some AI inspired stuff. So I just posted something last week with CZ when he got out of jail, or maybe a couple weeks ago. He was like holding a Mudang.
I saw that. That was you. You were the originator of the meme upon the meme upon the meme. I saw that.
So it's just fun things like that, and that wasn't necessarily anime per se, but yeah. So just we're just always keeping our eyes peeled.
Yeah, nice. Before we transition, I gotta say a big shout out to Hunt Club Hero. Just probably one of the craziest bastards in your space. Just I met him at the
love him.
I actually brought Disco to the Vegas party and got to hang out with him at Skate the Garden or something.
Skate the Gallery.
Thank you. Skate the Gallery and met Hunt Club there, and he was exactly as I pictured him, but crazier. So yes, I love you too, Hunt Club. So I want to transition because I wouldn't be doing the ordinal side a favor. I'd be doing a disservice if I didn't bring this up. You mentioned in the last Behind the Beans about being multi-chain. Obviously, you've been in the space for a long time. Bitcoin came first and you're huge into that. You had the Satoshi Nakamoto clothing line with the PBT. Would you ever expand Azuki and the garden to ordinals?
Yeah, and so we've thought about this, and multi-chain is certainly the future. And before we make any moves, I always really think deeply about the culture of each place that we're going to. And with ordinals, I have deep respect for the community that's formed around ordinals, and just Bitcoin in general, right? It's the OG of OGs. In LA where I live, there's actually a pretty cool ordinals community here, and I met some of them at IRL Alpha, this other show that I went on once. And so we decided that we're not going to do a collection, but we wanted to at least pay our respects, especially with the Satoshi Nakamoto hoodie that we did with PBT. So we did a drop for spirit holders. They could claim this Satoshi Nakamoto hoodie, it's actually a streetwear brand based in LA. And we worked with Magic Eden to create this dual chain PBT where you can verify the authenticity of the hoodie by scanning the PBT chip on Ethereum, but then it also inscribes an ordinal, which is where the art will live forever. So it was just a cool way for us to, pay homage to Satoshi and Bitcoin and ordinals without doing like a collection and having people speculate and trade. I think, I want to learn more about the ordinals community before we do anything, major. But I have been, impressed with, the community, and, I have some ordinals myself. So we were actually just talking before the show started. I got some of those, I got some node monkeys. I got some of those cats, Nan cats, right? Or Nat cats. Yeah.
Nat cats.
Nat cats.
DMT.
So they're fun. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you worry at all? One of the big selling points on the ordinal side, obviously, is everything is etched, within the UTXOs, but everything is on chain. We had, Disco, remind me, what was the name of the 240,000 pieces of art just went away on IPFS because
Known origin, I think.
Yeah, known origin. And, Xcopy, a lot of those old artists, some of their stuff just disappeared because they didn't pay the pinata bill. Like, an Azuki.
Unknown origin now.
Yeah, exactly. Known to unknown origin. So, an Azuki, a floor Azuki is around 13 grand or 5.2, 5.3 ETH. Like, I know Azuki and Chiru Labs are not going anywhere, but with such an expensive thing to be a part of a community, or at least to be in kind of that higher tier of the community, is there any way to go on chain or to secure that? Or have you thought about that?
Yeah, definitely have thought about that. I think we haven't decided like exactly what the right move is. But I do think immortalizing the art, so it's truly unruggable. There's just the spirit of that is truly within the ethos of Web3. So if anyone has any ideas, I've been thinking about it throughout the years, but haven't really figured out like what is the best way to do it. So I mean, of course, if you come from the ordinals community, I kind of know what the suggestion might be.
You want to hear it?
But yeah.
You want to hear that? Well, there's actually I have a couple ideas here. We can talk offline about those because I know you've got a meeting pretty soon, but I want to throw something out your way, and you don't have to answer it today, but we're going back to the screen. So Azuki 6501. I don't know if you remember this, but in the first weekend of ordinals, which was last February, so that February of, or maybe January of 23, people were just mad dashing doing their inscriptions. And of course,
you inscribed it.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So I inscribed this. Hold on. There it is. Okay. So now you can see, but this 6501 is inscribed on inscription 3491, and obviously being sub 1,000 is as OG as it gets. But remember, there are are we at 74 million or 76 million? I think we're at 76 million inscriptions now. So this one is sub 5,000. And a little Easter egg for all the Azuki people out there. I used to have a bunch of Azuki, and there are 2 other Azuki. There are only 3 under sub 5,000, and I do not own the other 2 Azuki anymore. So if someone wants to be smart and figure out what those are and find them and try and buy them, I think one day they'll be worth something. But it's pretty cool. And you know,
That's
I
cool.
did this obviously because that first weekend, like for me, coming to Bitcoin was kind of like coming home. And the more I learned, the more I got into it. But, you know, when I
Mm-hmm.
inscribed it, you know, I always held on to this one. So I'm going to ask you a question and you can think about this or you can blurt out an answer. If paying homage to Azuki, if I teleburned this and it lived only here as inscription 3491 and it was teleburned off the ETH chain, and I don't know if you know what that means, but Casey and all his craziness, but possible shrewdness, he wanted Ethereans to move their art immutably onto the mother chain. So every single ordinal inscription, all 76 million of them, has a corresponding Ethereum teleburn address. This is a known address. This address is attached to nobody's wallet, but if it's sent here, it is forever linked to this. How, if it's an
Mm.
homage and a full salute, how would that make you feel?
I love stuff like this, by the way. This is like yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I think there's a lot of thoughts here, but what's going through my mind is the concept is super dope. From a creator perspective, I'm thinking, how do we support um, these collectibles going forward in a seamless way, right? Because I got to think from that perspective. But the story here is really cool. By the way, did a few punks get sent to ordinals in the same way? Because I remember a punk being burnt, right? Was it who was it? I think it was was it the founder of OMBs
Oh,
that did
ZK.
something like that?
Did he
Yeah, was
do
it
a punk?
ZK?
I know a board ape for sure has been teleburned, and the apes at the time. That's when
Okay.
apes were still, they were in the 60s or 70 ETH range still, and people were like, "What are you doing, dude?" But so I know at least one has been burned. I didn't think any crypto punks were. There's a collection on Bitcoin called Bitcoin Punks, which, having been a crypto punk holder, I was never personally a huge fan of. But basically, the first 10,000 people, one for each uh, crypto punk, would take the exact SVG file that's on ETH, and if they etched it on Bitcoin, that became the Bitcoin Punk collection. The only difference is it has an orange background. It was
Interesting.
actually quite clever. I don't love it because a couple people I thought were a little scammy, and people made for allowing people to etch because the tools weren't quite there yet. I think they made a lot of money. So it felt a little copy pasta to me. At the same time, it was a very creative thing. So,
Mm. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, I think these things are fun, and you as a holder, right? You have the right to do anything you want with your Azuki. I think from a creator perspective, it's how do we make sure that our back end systems are able to, kind of incorporate what you guys do with your Azuki, so that we can still give you the experiences we want to deliver for the community. But if you're like, hey, I don't want anything to have to do with that, and I just want to go solo, you know, I think it's a dope story. But there's things that I want to do in the future with Azuki's on Ethereum, where it's like, how do we take these assets on chain? How can we, remix and do derivatives and do licensing on chain? Some of the stuff that Story Protocol is doing is really interesting. And of course, like if Azuki assets exist on multiple chains, that's just more work on the back end. But from a story perspective, I love stuff like this. So that's cool.
so if Bluetoshi did such a thing, would Bluetoshi still be able to go to Azuki parties as an Azuki holder?
Hey, I mean, look, I know you, right? So it's not about your NFT or not. But
Blue, get in
yeah,
here, you
yeah.
idiot. You effing idiot. Well, I know you've got a 1:30 hard stop. So is there anything, to kind of close out this? We'd love to have you on the show again. You guys have just crushed it in this last year. So appreciate Hunt Club for literally spamming the comments. Like we went from like 100 comments to like 44,000 because of that guy. So you're a good guy, Hunt. But is there anything you want to kind of close with or tell our audience or your audience or anybody?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. And I always love sharing our vision for Azuki, and thank you for all the support and for holding on to Azuki throughout the years. And glad to kind of reconnect. I know the last time we had a call was over a year ago. And yeah, for anyone listening and wants to explore the Ethereum side, is interested in going more in the animate direction as kind of our IP play, but still we're a Web3 project at the end of the day, and so our community loves to explore the frontier of what's new and what's hot, and there's a lot of great sub communities, and just great people overall. So we have the Azuki, the Elemental, and the Beans collection, and they're at kind of three different tier price points, and so we'd love to have you guys join us. But yeah, it was a great time. Blue and Disco, thank you guys for having me. And yeah, we'll chat again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Zagabond. And for everybody out there, none of this was financial advice. So do not take financial advice from us. It is entertainment purposes only. So with that U.S. legal system caveat aside, thank you all for showing up. Thank you, Ilan, Hunt, Sansa, and all of you for the great comments and feedback in here. And Zagabond, have a great day. And thanks so much for coming on the show. And we'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Take care.